If we're not ready by 7:15, wait longer.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. All right. Fuck, I don't remember which one was. Yeah, it was this one. Aha! All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Alt Nerd Obsessive Podcast. This is Mo. With me is H as always, and we just watched a hell of a movie, and now we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, excuse us if we're a little, if we seem a little tired. Um, we ran into some technical difficulties while recording the actual movie reaction video, which you can get by becoming a member over on our Buy Me a Coffee. I'll put links to that somewhere, uh, probably in the doobity doo, and yeah, and yeah, you could see you could get H's initial reaction. He's never seen the movie before. It's been in my collection for quite some time. This is my something weird double DVD. They used to do these really awesome. They called it the drive-in double feature, where what they would do is they would put two movies on a disc. I guess I'm blocking my face here. They'd put two movies on a disc, and then they would put like an intermission in between them. So like you could, it was awesome. On the menu page, there'd be like a "Let's go to the drive-in" button, and it would play the first movie, and then it would give you an intermission. It would give you commercials. It would give you, all sorts of stuff that you would normally get at a drive-in intermission, and then it would go right into the second movie. So like basically like you had an entire afternoon of cinema planned for you. So for this one, it was just for the hell of it, which is the movie we're going to be talking about, as you can see from the giant sign over here. Brought to you by RC Cola, not sponsored, and and then and then it would go into Blast Off Girls, which is another fucking wild movie that we'll probably cover at some point in the future. You can go over there. Um, let me grab a sip real quick of this sweet sweet nectar of the gods that is RC Cola. I still haven't been able to find the cherry. I can't find cherry RC anywhere, and that kind of makes me
I,
sad.
I was I was thinking about that. I was thinking maybe it's just a regional thing.
I mean, maybe, but I'll keep looking, and I mean, I'm not really in grocery stores very often anymore, so it's not like it's not like I have a lot of opportunities to see it, but I'll try checking some other stores when I'm out and about at some point and seeing if I can find anything. But anyway, let's get into this. So, just for the hell of it, is a 1968 just sleaze fest. Um, written and directed by Herschel Gordon Lewis, one of the kings of gore, arguably the man who invented what would go on to become modern gore with the Blood trilogy. Um, and in the process of making the Blood trilogy, also went and did a lot of these sleazy, kind of like rough, violent, you know, um, teenager movies, and this was probably his most notorious. I was telling H when we were watching it, I said, remind me to tell the story of why I bought this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just going to start with that because Something Weird is a company that I have a long standing relationship with. I love them to death. Um, Back in the late 90s, I started going to the Chiller Theater conventions in New Jersey, and they had them every April and October. So I would go to both, and I did that for like 5 or 6 years straight. And every year You know, Mike Rainey and Lisa from Something Weird would be there. They'd have a table set up, which I always thought was fucking crazy because they're out of Seattle. You know, so they would fly cross country or travel cross country with bins and bins of these VHS and set up this table and sell them at the convention and whatever and yada yada. And you know, and Mike just kind of, you know, like me and him just kind of clicked. You know, we were both like big sleaze fanboys, and you know, and he kind of became my crap film guru, so to speak. And it's probably the most influential relationship I've ever had in my life. You know, I love the guy to death. Maybe bad words right there to use, bad phrasing, because he is in fact dead. But you know, he was the best. He really was. And so one day I've told this story to H before, but I'll tell it to you, the audience, because you don't know it. But one day it was chiller, and I walk in and I see Mike, and I go, "All right, Mike, I need new movies. What do you got?" And like he doesn't even say hi. He just kind of like leaned in conspiratorially and just kind of said to me, "They put a baby in a trash can." And he didn't have to say a fucking word. He didn't have to say another fucking word. Like, I was sold. I'm like, I want this movie. What is it? Give it to me. Because I guess at the time it was considered kind of a lost, you know, I think it was kind of like a lost film, but they, you know, like back then the term lost film was a little looser. It usually just meant that they had copies of it and that it hadn't been remastered by anybody or transferred to better quality. But they had just put in the work on that one and put it out on on DVD. And and he hands me a copy, and like I immediately was like, yes, put it on my pile. You know, because back then I had money. Like, I haven't had money in fucking years, but back then I had money. And so I would always go to Chiller with like $500-600, and I would spend most of it at Something Weird.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, you
Going
know.
to conventions.
Yep. So now it costs $500-600 just to get into the fucking conventions. Um, so I'm gonna make a quick aside before we get into the actual movie. So we just found out that I think it was Ron Perlman is gonna be at a convention down here where I'm at now. I don't want to say specifically where, but you know, down here. And I mean, hell, even me just saying that is probably enough for people to fucking figure it out. But whatever. Um, and I found out that tickets just to get in. I mean, this is now, keep in mind, these are like gold tickets, so this is like an all access kind of thing. But it's like $250, and I'm like, that's fucking crazy. Like, I couldn't imagine spending that kind of money on fucking con tickets.
Right, but
Yeah.
those would be the ones that would get you in and like get you extra stuff when you go in and allow you to cut the line for
Right.
a guest of your choice and shit like that. Usually that's the kind of stuff that entails.
Still too much. Yeah, because you go to more cons than I do these days.
I
Yeah.
haven't been to one in several years now myself, but yeah,
Yeah, but I haven't been to one since like 2004, so it's been a minute.
my last one was 2016, I think.
Yeah, so it's been a minute for you too, but
Yeah.
anyway. So just for the hell of it, like I said, it's a pretty fucking sleazy movie. It's a little problematic. It's got some issues, but for the most part, it's basically just about a bunch of street toughs who go around smashing places up and causing havoc just because they can. You know, there are so many scenes in this movie where it's just them smashing up a room. And the best part is you can see it coming from a mile away too, which is hilarious. Um like if whenever there's a scene in a room that looks like it was just randomly put together, like you know that that room is about to get smashed the fuck up. And those scenes are gloriously chaotic. You know, they're a lot of fun. It looks like everybody involved is just having a blast, just breaking shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Even though most of the time they're doing kind of a bad job of breaking
oh yeah, they're doing a fucking
it.
terrible job of breaking shit, but it's funny at the very least. There, you
Yeah.
know, there is a minor storyline about like them having beef with some guy, and you know, and I really feel like they just kind of shoehorned that in there just so that they could get an ending out of it. But you know, it doesn't account. Like I would say the entire actual story of the movie accounts for maybe 15 to 20 minutes of the 83-minute runtime. Um, yeah, it's just, you know, this guy in the gang whose name I don't think you ever learn uh, is pissed off about this dude, Doug. And the only reason you can really guess that he's pissed off about the dude, Doug, is because he's wearing a tie and a mohair coat. And that seems to be
Hmm.
about it. Everything else,
Yep.
yeah, is nothing.
Hmm.
Um, you know, there are a couple of rape scenes, and that like I said, that's a little problematic. But you know,
Right, but at least with those that they don't get as graphic as what they could have
right, exactly. I
with
mean,
it.
yeah, like we were kind of talking about like while we were watching the movie was, you know, like there's not even any like real, like like real nudity. Like you see a boob and a butt, and that's about it. You
Yep.
know, um, you know there is a scene where they roofie some girls and sexually assault them, and that's like, ooh, you know, like not a good thing. Um, but but the rest of the movie is just about these kids going crazy and breaking shit and tormenting people, and like there are some really gloriously silly scenes of like them like I mean hell there's two that happened twice. They just reused the footage of them tormenting a guy, um they tormenting a blind guy and then tormenting a guy on crutches who has a head wound. So I don't know why he's on crutches,
Yeah.
but you know, whatever. And then there's the aforementioned baby in the trash can, which is pretty great. Like my favorite part about the baby in the trash can scene is like you think the baby's gonna be like crying the whole time, and the baby's crying like as soon as they put the thing in the trash can. But then like they cut back to it 2 seconds later, and that baby's just like chilling. He's like, no, I dig it. You know, he's comfortable. Like they filled that trash can with newspapers. You know, that kid ain't getting hurt. You know, he's just sitting there chilling out.
Nope. He's totally fine.
You know,
Just
meanwhile, there's a bunch of no goodniks behind him destroying his uh, stroller, but no, he's just chilling in the trash can.
again badly too. It must have been the most well-built stroller ever.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They get a little they get a little bit of um, they get a little denting and a little bit of metal bending, but really most of the damage is just fabric. I'm trying to think of some of the other just chaos scenes. You know, they destroy a boat with an axe. Um,
Well, they they start to destroy it with an axe, and then they kind of just
Just
go to using their bare hands.
exactly. But the movie has one of the greatest like setup scenes in any like sleaze fest movie. Um, it opens at a party, and we see people just kind of wandering around and like doing their thing, and there's a guy in the background washing his hands in a fishbowl for some reason. And
Yeah.
he grabs the fishbowl and walks around and then dumps it on some dude's head, and the dude gets pissed off and throws it at a mirror, and I think it was supposed to smash the mirror, but it didn't, which is fucking hilarious. They do end up eventually smashing the mirror, but like it wasn't because of the fishbowl. And then they just start going to town on this room, slicing up the furniture and pulling out springs and yada yada. And I don't know, it was fun. It's just a fun scene. And then 7 minutes later, we get actual dialogue.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. There's, what was it, 11 or 12 minutes, something like that. No dialogue.
it's 8 minutes. 8 minutes of no
Oh,
dialogue.
oh, it
Yeah,
was just 8 minutes.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, so let's hand the mic over to you for a second, because this is your first time. This was your first time seeing the film. Uh, so
Yeah.
give us your impressions. Like what did you think about it? Having it be, man, I cannot talk tonight. Um, it being your first time seeing the movie, and while you talk, I'm gonna drink this delicious, crisp, refreshing RC cola, not sponsored.
Give us a call. But yeah. Anyway, with it being my first time, and not knowing what it was gonna be.
Because I didn't even really tell you that much about the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not knowing exactly what it was gonna be, I was like, is this gonna be awesome? Is it gonna be boring? I didn't know.
And with these movies, it could easily go either direction for sure.
And thankfully, it wasn't the most awesome thing ever, but it wasn't boring either.
No, it's delightfully sleazy. With the exception of the couple of problematic scenes, it's really delightfully sleazy.
I will say though, for the people who decide to get the bonus content on Buy Me a Coffee, you may hear me yawn a couple of times in there, may or may not, but I will say that has nothing to do with the movie.
Dude, I was fucking yawning through the entire fucking movie, and I'm on fucking camera. Man, I couldn't help myself. Like it's not even like it's not that the movie's boring at all. I just, man, my brain gets going and I just fucking start yawning.
But
Excuse me.
I mean, yeah, just watching people tear shit up for no apparent reason
Yeah,
was kind of fun.
just for
And
the hell
then
of it.
seeing them kind of do a a bad job of it, like most of the shit they were trying to break was stronger than they were. That was kind of funny.
That was fucking hilarious. So, what was your favorite scene?
Um, well, I mean, the thing that you sold it to me on, obviously, was uh like the story that you told was the
Baby in
baby
a
in the
trash
trash
can.
can,
Baby in a
and
trash can is the best scene. That's
and
not, no
that
doubt.
didn't disappoint.
I love me some baby in a trash can. Oh my god! And then like I remember taking that movie home, and that was the first one I watched that year. Like it's all like I always have this ritual, or I had this ritual when I would get home. I would choose like you know the proclaimed movie, like the movie that I was gonna watch first when I got home. And for me, like I had like normally sometimes it'll be tough to decide which one I want to watch first because I'll have bought so many good ones. I didn't. It wasn't even a choice that year. I said I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna sit in my chair. I had this real nice recliner in my room at the time because I believe when I bought that I was still living at home. Um, was I still living at home? I was not still living at home. I was living with friends. But I had this nice recliner in my room, and I sat down and I popped it in the DVD player. More than likely my PS2,
Hmm.
or whatever it was at the time, and just I hit that let's go to the drive-in button, and I watched the whole fucking thing. I watched, you know, uh, just for the hell of it, and then Blast Off Girls, and man, I was like a pig in shit. I was so happy just watching that stupid fucking movie. Oh my god, it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah, and then you know that ending too with that explosion with the two on the motorcycle. That's you know probably didn't elicit the reaction that they wanted, but it was pretty amusing to me.
It was like honestly what I expected them to do was to cut to a miniature because just quick explanation at the end of the movie what happens is there's a road that's closed because a bridge is out, and I think what they wanted to do was to show the guy on the motorcycle or the pair of people on the motorcycle falling off the edge of the cliff to their death, but I think they realized that that would have been too hard to shoot without making miniatures, and like it just would have looked fucking terrible. So what they did was they just rigged up this like really shitty explosion, and like you don't even see the people fall off the bike. That's the best part. Is you see them drive off the road, and then there's just a hard cut, like a smash cut, to them on the ground and the bike exploding, and it's fucking amazing because it's so bad. It's so bad. But that's what HGL did. Like this is the same guy who forced an actress to put a rotten cow tongue in her mouth to simulate her own tongue being cut out because he didn't want to spend the money to go buy another cow tongue. He's like, no, this is what we got. Just use it, you know. And the best part is like their solution was to, I think they just like disinfected it. So now it's like not only do you have a rotten cow tongue in your mouth, but you have a rotten cow tongue covered in disinfectant in your mouth. And it's like the fact that she was able to do that and still get the scene is fucking amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Oh my god.
Yeah,
This movie was something else.
it was definitely worth a watch, and you know not not nearly as boring and draggy as what it could have been.
Exactly. All right, let's do a quiz. How many
Okay.
how many characters can you name?
Let me see.
Yeah, don't preface it with anything. Just name off as many characters from the film as you can.
We had we had Doug.
Mm-hmm.
We had oh wow. Uh, hmm.
Just I want to state for the record for the audience watching, this is not me like in a gotcha moment with H. There is a thought process behind this. I'm gonna let him keep going though.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna say we had Doug, and there was like two other people that we did eventually get the names of, but I've already forgotten them.
They don't introduce any of the characters in this movie. You have you have four to potentially five characters who actually get named in the movie, and one of them doesn't get named until over an hour in to an 80-minute movie.
Yeah,
You've got Doug, who's the main good guy. Then you've got Dexter, who's the main bad guy. You've got
right.
you've got Bitsy, who is Dexter's girlfriend, and Jeannie, who is Doug's girlfriend. And then there's Lummox, whose name isn't even Lummox, but
That's just what they
that's
called
just
him,
what they called him.
and
So,
that's the only thing they called him. So
yeah.
that's all you had to go on.
And that's it. That's every named character in the movie. There are plenty of characters in the movie, but those are the only ones whose name you actually get. Um this movie also has one of my favorite things in the world, and that is bands pantomiming.
Oh yeah.
I There's nothing I love more than bands pretending to play instruments, because that shit is fucking funny. So like right at the beginning of the movie, like this would have been about the 8 minute mark, ish. Right around the time we get our first actual dialogue, there's the band isn't named. They don't tell you who they are. I have a feeling they were a real band who was just, either performing that night and HGL just decided to record them. Um, although didn't use their song. Um, and they're kind of fucking amazing. There's this kind of chubby guy on bass who's just super energetic. But go ahead, say again how you described his play style.
Yeah. So the way he's playing and shit, he's moving all around and he's real energetic. But like if you watch his hands, and you know anything at all about playing bass, you know that he's not really playing. So I referred to it as uh, energetic laziness.
And I mean, it's perfect. That's a perfect description of it. It's energetic laziness. It's fucking amazing, though. Like, it really is just a great fucking scene. We're kind of vamping at this point because there's not like a whole lot you can actually say about the movie. Because, like I said, not a whole lot actually happens. Once you get, once you tell the half-assed, bare bones storyline, and the fact that they just tear rooms up on occasion, there's not much else going on.
Right? Like you can't say much else about it without just describing everything that happens.
Right, exactly. You know. So it's like, I mean, we could go in and tell you, like, I mean, there is kind of a cool scene where they're tearing up a restaurant, and the guy who owns the place threatens to call the cops, so they fucking put his hand on a skittle on like a hot grill and burn his hand up, and that's kind of a cool scene. And like there's a scene where they're harassing a guy who's getting ready to paint his house, and they write "Fuzz go home" on the side of the house, which I always thought was fucking hilarious because all they're really doing is helping him paint his own house. Like he was just getting ready to go paint that wall, and you just painted part of it for him. So thanks.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. The whole movie's just kind of fascinating and amazing, and and a product of a different era, to say the least. But thoroughly enjoyable, and just one of those movies that I feel like everybody at some point should find a way to go watch.
Yeah, definitely a lot more watchable than some of the other scare movies that I've seen from the time.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so if we're talking, okay, quality wise, if we're talking like, let's say Reefer Madness is the top, you know, and like Mom and Dad is the bottom, which it's not, but like, let's just for the sake of this argument say that's the bottom, you
Mm-hmm.
know, then I would say, just for the hell of it, is somewhere in the top, you know, 75th percentile. Like, not quite as good as Reefer Madness, which is just a fucking masterpiece, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but way more watchable than a lot of the 1920s and 30s scare films, which were way more, you know, low key and not quite as humorous. This movie is very 1968. Let's just say that.
Yep. It is very much of its time.
Very much of its time, exactly. Um, did we have anything else we wanted to talk about tonight? Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Hmm. Not right off the top of my head, I'll be honest. But if you do, go for it. We'll
I
see what we can get into.
I mean, okay, so I'm thinking the new Dead by Daylight PTB just came out, and you know, like that's one of our big things is Dead by Daylight, and the so the PTBs come out like a couple of weeks before what the new chapters come out to let you know, like, you know, what changes are taking place, or what the new, in this case, the new killer, the new survivors, yada yada. And I played for a bit, you know. I played a handful of matches, and I actually did something I almost never do in PTB, and I played killer, just to get a hang of, like, just to see what the new killer was like. And I gotta tell you, this is probably the worst new killer I've seen in the game in ages. Just like this, like, which of course makes me kind of love them, because they have no, they have no advantage in chase. They have no, you know, there are other they have an advantage in tracking, but there are other killers who have better tracking abilities. Like, hell, even Doc has better tracking abilities. You know,
Mhm.
they have no way of stopping you in chase, and like they just seem kind of slow. Like, there are changes that they could make to make the killer better, but you know, so just giving a quick rundown of what the killer does. They've got this giant claw, you know, like this big metallic claw. They're kind of cybernetic looking, and weirdly sexy, like way too fucking like they don't need to be that fucking sexy, but um, and and they use these drones to kind of like scan around certain areas. And if you stay within that area for too long, you get what's called lock on. And if you get lock on, it'll tell the killer where you are, and then you become downable in one hit. But the second you run out of that area, like once you run out of the zone of the drones, you lose that insta down. So it's like, what's the fucking point? You know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really poorly designed killer, which, I mean, let's face facts, they'll probably change it enough to make it, you know, the next fucking top tier whatever, because they always do.
Yeah, because I feel like you had said uh a few nights ago when we were playing that initially when you tried the dredge during that PTB that you had initially liked him, and then
I had a
by the
lot
time
of fun.
by the time he came out,
Yep, I had a lot of fun with Dredge, during the PTB. Like, I thought he was going to be a really fun killer to go against, and then they made a couple of minor changes that were just enough to make him utterly horrible to go against, and like just fucking irritating as shit. They changed the darkness effect, um, which in the PTB was fine. Like it was still dark, and but you could still kind of see, But when they changed it for the actual game, it was pitch black. Like you could not see a fucking thing, and so unless you were running Windows of Opportunity, you had no idea where anything fucking was, and that sucked. Um, and they changed a couple little things about the killer himself that made the playing against the killer just incredibly unfun. And he became my auto DC killer for a while. Like I just refused to play against him. Then Wesker came out and everybody stopped playing Dredge because Wesker's like a million times better designed. Like, look, I'll state facts. I don't like playing against Weskers, but I don't think those matches are boring. Um, I think Wesker is a very well designed killer. I just think there are a couple of things he does that are a little cheap. But I mean, whatever. It's not anything that any other killer hasn't done in the past. You know, it's. I think the problem is that he does things that other killers do, that other killers get punished for if they screw up, and he doesn't. That's where the issue lies.
There you go.
Like he can vault pallets, which Legion can do, but if Legion fucks up in a swing, he loses his power. If Wesker fucks up in a vault, he doesn't, because his power was already regenerating at that point. It's not bad. It's not bad though. I still say Wesker's probably one of the best designed killers they've done in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I'll still take Wesker over Clown, who's just fucking boring.
Yeah, it's funny though, because while we have gone up against Westers a number of times, we don't get them that
Yeah, and I've never DC'd against a Wesker. I've DC'd against almost every other fucking killer in the game. You know,
often.
H doesn't DC because he knows how to manage his anger, whereas me, I'm a little ball of rage that gets super tilted really easily,
Yep.
and like all it really takes is you tunneling me off the hook, and I'm like, nope, I'm done. Click.
Mo Mo tends to get a little bit tilted, and then he'll get slightly indignant and just be like, "I won't be tunneled," and he'll, you know,
Yep. I'll just,
DC.
I'll just be like,
Whereas,
I'll just be like, I'm sorry, I'm not getting tunneled by this fucking killer. Click.
and he will do this. This is what's funny about it. He will do this after it happening to him once, after seeing it happen to me, 5 or 6 matches in a row.
Constantly. Yeah, H tends to get found pretty quick, and like so they'll get that first hook on him. And the problem is when you're first hook, they're tunneling you. Because that's the, like, I mean, let's face facts. That's the best way to play the game right now.
And I'll tell you why. And this is no fucking bullshit. I'm not fucking making it up. It's not because I do stupid stuff at the beginning of a match or anything. It is because the game loves to spawn me real close to the killer.
I can confirm that does happen to him a lot. Like it happens to me every now and again, but it happens to H a lot. And, and what usually ends up happening, I mean, like, let's face facts. In the last 2 or 3 months, you've had more situations. You've had more situations in the last 2 or 3 months than I have in the last 4 years of going into a match and getting absolutely nothing accomplished because you were found first and tunneled right out of the game. You
Yeah,
know,
like sometimes within 3 or 4 minutes I'll
yeah,
be dead just because you know they they found me immediately, and then you know, or most recently, one of the ones that happened was I was found immediately, hooked, and then someone came immediately to farm me with the killer still right in front of me.
yep,
So I was immediately downed again and then hooked again. And then, a few minutes later, you know, like maybe 2 minutes later, I was downed again and then hooked again and I was dead. And it was over in like 3 minutes because someone decided to farm me and make an already bad situation worse.
yeah. One of the big problems is that me and H are a two-man Swift, and so because we're only a two-man, we still have to rely on two randos, and randos are descendant of raccoons. You just can't trust them. But you mentioned being hooked, and you know what else? You know who else is hooked? Me on the delicious, crisp, refreshing taste of RC Cola. Not sponsored.
Nice.
Did you watch Elimination Chamber or no?
I did not.
I didn't either. For a second I thought maybe like I'd try to watch it this morning or something, but I just wasn't feeling it. And like I really debated about it. Like I know I'm really looking forward to what is it? Full Gear. Is that the pay per view coming up for AEW in
Yeah,
March? You
I
know,
think so. Yeah.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to Full Gear. Um, that 1 hour Iron Man match with Brian Danielson and MJF is going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah, that's gonna be great.
But I couldn't bring myself. Like I knew that there was big storyline stuff happening with Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, and I don't think Zayn won. But I mean, at this point he doesn't even have to. He's so fucking over.
Oh yeah.
But I worry that Zayn's going to be like the next Brian Danielson. Like not that Brian Danielson was a flash in the pan in WWE, but they did not do right by him, for his big run. But frankly, Roman Reigns has had the belt for so fucking long, and he's so fucking bad. Like, look, I get it. He's a lot better than he was when he started, but I still find him so incredibly boring. Like,
Yeah.
I would rather watch everybody else in the bloodline wrestle than Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I like I'm not a huge fan of the Usos, but like I'll admit they're fantastic wrestlers, you know. Um and frankly, I could watch Sami Zayn wrestle forever. I did catch one thing because I started trying to watch it last night. I was really tired at
Mhm.
like way really early. Like I ended up going to bed at like 11 last night, which is stupid early for me. But I was watching YouTube and I remembered that Elimination Chamber was on. I'm like, oh, let me go pop that on. And by the time I got it going, the event was already over. But it was like that live where you could still rewind back to the actual event.
Yeah.
So I rewound back to the beginning, just for the entrances of Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn. And that pop that Sami gets when he came out is without a doubt one of the biggest pops I've ever heard in wrestling history. Like, and I
Yeah.
mean, it was huge. It was huge, like impressively big, And then the timer ran out on the thing like right as they were about to start the match, so I didn't actually see any of the wrestling. I just saw the entrances.
Mm,
Um, you know, it's I think the problem is that Sammy's prone to injury. Like he's already hurt his shoulder 2 or 3 times over the last several years, and I think they're worried about putting a belt on him at this point because of that.
I I will say this about it though. It is if they do put the belt on him, the one positive that he'll have over you know Brian Danielson's time as champion, and his run is that Vince won't be running it
True, that is true.
because it's still Triple H is still in charge of everything as far as creative and all that. So
Right.
you know that's the one big thing that Sammy will have in his favor that Brian didn't have.
Exactly. I forgot how much I liked Sammy's music, his intro music too, because I feel like it's been a while since he's actually had his own music again. Like because he's been doing everything with the Bloodline lately, so he's been coming in with the Bloodlines music, and so it's been a
Mm-hmm.
while since I've heard that that ska, kind of like ska punk
Right?
music of his, and I just forgot how much that music like gets you pumped. It's
Sure.
it's like inspirational almost, and really, really just a whole lot of fun. I don't think I have anything else to talk about though. If I'm being honest, I think I'm done.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I can't really think of anything right off the top of my head. I mean, nothing. Nothing jumped out at me this week that I thought, I should mention that on the podcast. So, but I'm sure, that as we go along and we we do more of these, that like there'll be things that'll pop up, like
Sure.
I don't know, movie releases, or maybe other video games, or hell, since I'm like a big toy nerd, maybe I'll even talk about toys that are gonna be coming out in the near future.
Speaking of things that are coming out in the near future, I did think of one thing
Yeah.
that falls into the purview of our interests.
Mhm.
Record store day.
That's true. Yes, that's something I could mention. So Record Store Day is happening in April, as it always does, and the list came out the other day, and I looked through it, and the one major thing that I did notice was that Macho Man Randy Savage's "Be a Man" album is getting a vinyl release.
How fucking wild is that? Of all fucking things.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome, and uh, with any luck, uh, our buddy Mark, who may or may not guest on the show at some point,
He'll be on.
uh,
He'll be on when we talk about Dark Souls.
sure, um, he'll be going out that day, and with any luck, he'll be able to grab me a copy.
Do we know how much those are gonna be?
Um, I don't know what the price is going to be, but I know that it uh, is limited to 1,000,
Yikes.
and I know that it's going to be on purple vinyl.
I know, that's cool. Because I mean, like, it's pretty rare that there are records that I see and I'm like, man, I'd really like to get that, and that's like one of them. Like that, like something like that would fit into my weird record collection so perfectly. You know, like so H's record collection is respectable. You know, like he's got like a lot of really cool shit on a lot of really cool colored vinyl. You know, and like he actually like gives a shit
Hmm.
about his record collection. My record collection is all fucking stupid shit. You know, for the most part, I got some serious stuff in here, but like here's a great example. Here, so my record collection is literally in this bin right next to me. You know, they're safe. You know, they're not bent or warped or anything like that. But this is a great example of the sort of shit that's in my record collection. This is a Dracula's Greatest Hits album, um, featuring songs like "I Wanna Bite Your Hand," "Drac the Knife," "Ghoul Days," "Monster Goose Rhymes," "Surf Monster," "Monster Bossa Nova," "Carry Me Back to Transylvania," you know. And like here, this is great. On the back it says here, "So die a little." Like it says so live a little, but they crossed out the live and wrote die. It's pretty fucking amazing.
That's amazing. I would own that.
Yeah, it's just, you know, kind of fun stuff. And then what do I have? Like six Tom Jones albums. Like literally, well, what do I got here? One, two, three, four, five Tom Jones albums. Tom Jones live in the Fever Zone. You know, and like some, I mean, like, yeah, well, my collection is mostly weird shit. I've got some pretty respectable shit, but really a lot of the stuff that I held on to, because my collection used to be gigantic. My collection used to be literally six times bigger than what it is now. But when I moved down here, I had to make a very hard decision about what I took with me and what I didn't, because there was very limited space. You know, so I reserved, you know, I whittled down my collection to just sort of like the essential weirdness, and most of it got left behind. So sadly, my record of, you know, like Bavarian church music got left up north. You know, but I had to make sure that like my black on black picture disc, you can't see that this is a picture disc. I mean, you kind of a little bit can see that it's a picture disc, but you know, there's people are going to yell at me for how I'm handling my records. There you go. Now you can see it a little bit better. But this is my Boris the Sprinkler black on black picture disc. I think there's only like 3 songs on this. Sorry, there are 6 songs on this. But this is the gratuitous 1998 summer tour 10-inch. You know, but that's the sort of shit that I hold on to. Like my 7-inch collection is pretty impressive, but my actual record collection is mostly goofy shit. And then of course, you know, Frampton Comes Alive, because I feel like
You gotta have friends that comes alive.
everybody needs a copy of Frampton Comes Alive. Alive. Although this is probably the crown jewel of my collection. My copy of Dr. Octagon's Dr. Octogynecologist, which is just, I mean, like I love this fucking holographic uh, cover on it, which is just amazing. I don't think this is on any weird colored vinyl. I think it's just black, yeah. But it is a 2 disc, you know, it is a 2 LP release. But yeah, like, so like the idea of, oh, that's enough of my record. Oh my god, now I can get the fucking thing back in. There we go. So like the idea of getting a Be a Man, Macho Man Randy Savage album really appeals to me. My problem is like I don't like the idea of spending more than a handful of dollars for a record, and you know that's gonna end up being like fucking 40, $50 at the low end.
Well, realistically, it'll probably be between uh 30 and 40, I would say.
Yeah, but even that's like that's a lot of money,
Yeah.
you know. And generally speaking, I cannot justify that kind of money just for a
Yeah,
record.
the price of records has gotten kind of ridiculous.
Well, much like with VHS, you know, collector pricing has ruined the fucking hobby, you know.
Right, but see, even that is a different situation because there you're still talking about uh, the prices of old stuff
That's
just going up and people asking more for it. Whereas with records, uh, these are the prices of new albums coming out that are,
right.
between 30 and 40 bucks, sometimes more depending on what it is.
I mean, every now and again you'll get, you know, new um VHS releases of new movies or VHS re-releases of old movies. So like
Yeah.
I've got the Blu-ray of this movie right here, Zillafoot, you know, that I picked up because I currently don't have a VCR to play shit on, but because I liked the cover so much, you know, here let me grab it off my shelf over here. You know, oh I also grabbed the VHS of it, you know, because I mean, come on, that's fucking cool looking, and this is a new movie. This is a brand new movie, you know. And then you've got, you know, classic shit like Things, which was this was a limited release, you know, VHS. I forget how many they made of these. I really think it was only like a few hundred. I don't know if this is individually marked or not. It's not. So I don't remember exactly how many came out, but I almost got fired from my job over this Things release. I basically, like, when I found out that was coming out, I spent the entire I was working at an insurance company in the call center, and I put my phone on basically do not disturb. They called it wrap up, which basically like you when you were done with your call, you put your phone in wrap up, and then you finished up your documentation and then put yourself back live again. So I had my phone in wrap up pretty much from the time I got in to about 10:30 that morning. So like 2.5 hours of me not taking any fucking calls because I was just hitting the refresh button on that website waiting for it to go live. And I got one. So,
I've been there.
yeah, you know. So yeah, I mean I will spend money on certain things if I think it's worth it, but for some reason you know, I think it's the punk rock in me. Like I've never been able to justify spending that kind of money on records, you know, because like every 7 inch I've ever bought I've paid less than $6 for, you know.
Yeah.
Most of the albums I own I've paid less than 10 for, you know. I have like one or two that I paid, you know, like 15 ish for, but most everything else is pretty cheap, and I just think that's just the punk rock in me, really.
Right. And, I kind of wish that it would go back to that, but once prices of shit go up
It
like
stays
that,
up, yeah.
they don't usually ever go back down again. So,
Yeah, it's a damn shame, I tell you. It's a damn shame. But anyway, let's wrap it up here. We've been going for about an hour now, and just want to thank anybody for listening. If you're watching live, if not, it's cool. You can catch us on YouTube. Um, that is on the Alt Nerd Podcast channel. That's the YouTube channel we use, right?
yes.
I can never fucking remember.
And I will make sure I will remind you and make sure that you get the episode up in a more timely manner this week.
Yeah, I was pretty distracted this week, so it ended up going up super late. But I'll make sure it goes up tomorrow, and I'll make sure that the reaction video for us watching just for the hell of it makes it on to Buy Me a Coffee, which you can support us there. Either through tips or through becoming a member. Members get behind the scenes access, or not not behind the scenes, what's the word I'm looking for, bonus,
Exclusive
yeah, exclusive access.
exclusive bonus content.
Right, exactly. Like whenever we do a podcast about a movie, we usually do a reaction video to that movie, and um, that one goes up on Buy Me a Coffee. Obviously, feel free to follow here on live on Twitch every Sunday at 7. Um, and yeah, be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to ding that bell to get all the newest information.
And I think maybe one day this week, one of us will actually create the Alt Nerd Obsessives podcast Facebook page,
Right.
and then you can go follow us there.
Exactly. Exactly. On that note, though, it's been fun. H, always a pleasure. And
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between, we will see you next week.